Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the pleasure and honor of having Daya Naef, a lawyer and the founder and president of
The Success Partner.
The Success Partner, yeah, the law firm co-pilot. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Ken. I'm glad to be here.
So first, tell me your journey. Well, you can tell me what you do, but I'm also interested in your journey. How did you get to where you are now? So Let's do that.
Absolutely. So today I am, like you mentioned, the law firm co-pilot. That's sort of a sub-brand of the Success Partner, which is a business coaching and consulting firm. So we work shoulder to shoulder with small law firm owners, really developing business, growing, pivoting the practice if they're adding a practice area or honing into a practice area that they haven't specialized in before. And then, of course, exit planning. So working with some of those firms that are a little bit more mature and they want to really build and get a process in place so that they can exit the firm by promoting from within or merging or selling the firm at a later date. I guess how I got here, I have been a small business owner for 21 years, a couple of different businesses, some real estate and other type of consulting businesses, but also a small law firm that I ran and merged out of that back around 2008, totally did a career pivot of my own. I went to coaching school, so spent a year in coaching school in Washington, D.C., and then stayed on as a trainer for that coaching school for about 2 years while I was building and launching the Success Partner.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to make a career change sometimes. I did it about 15 years ago.
Yes.
You got to do what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
So what I'm taking is that you work mostly with smaller law firms and try to help them scale or set up the systems, processes, or grow. So yeah, I'm interested in here, and I guess you work with all types: personal injury, bankruptcy, family law, criminal, all types.
Yep. All types.
Okay, good deal. So what do you think are like top 2 or 3 biggest things you see lawyers that call you up, need your help? What are their biggest pitfalls, challenges? What is it they're having the biggest problems with, biggest mistakes? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest pain point I usually get is profitability and sustainability as well. And I think of it as more of a symptom than a cause. And it's not until we get in there and start unpacking things, because there could be leaks and gaps in anywhere from culture, HR issues, customer service and client service relationships. But that's usually the indicator. Someone will be talking to me and they'll be saying, hey, I have a firm, I'm working really hard, everything looks from the outside like it's working, it's perfect, it's the way I want it to go. However, I am working way long hours, I'm not getting traction, I'm not getting repeat business, I'm having difficulty keeping employees, or my employees, I think I'm maybe overpaying my employees, or the comp plan is not right for the volume of work. And we get in there and we really just unpack and discover. And a lot of it's like there's 6 or 7 valves and all the valves aren't lining up. So you've got some that are completely empty, you've got some that are completely full, and then the rest just really need some tweaking.
Well, that's the thing about going to law school. They don't teach you how to run a business. They teach you how to think, how to analyze, be analytical, and how to do legal research, and how to stand on your feet and think and talk. But they don't teach you a thing about marketing. They don't teach you a thing about balance sheets, P&Ls, core values, mission statements, profitability, intake. That's the thing I see. I mean, I don't know about you, but I see it. The biggest leakage I see is, and there's so many, but lawyers think that they sign up every case they want, and they don't. I don't know. Do you see that?
Oh, to have more clients than they actually need?
No, they think that they sign up everybody that calls them that they want to represent. And what I find is that they miss a lot of people, or they wait, they're in court, especially if they're small, like they're in court. By the time they get back to them, they already hired somebody else, or things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely the follow-up. I mean, that when I came to PILMA in the spring, learning about the average rate of follow-up being so low for attorneys returning the calls after they've paid so much to get the leads in with the marketing, that was astounding. It was absolutely astounding. So definitely tweaking those systems inside to make sure that you have your intake process straightened out, your sales process straightened out. And then, yeah, like you said, if as a small firm, like how are you going to cover those spaces? And it's really just going to be what's the right fit for your firm.
Do you find that some lawyers have a big problem with letting go? They got to do everything, that nobody can do it as good as they can.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell lawyers? How do you get them to change that mindset? I think that's hard.
Yeah, well, we start to hone in on like what makes them unique and what makes them special. And driving documents to the courthouse is not something that makes them special. You know, just answering the phone and doing good, just customer service, that's not something that makes them special. Yes, building the relationship and spending the time with the client, of course, and getting to know them and building that trust and rapport. Yes, of course. But just the smaller nuances and some things they already know someone else can handle better. If they're less process orientated, they're more people and less process orientated, and get a strong paralegal in there. If the other way around, they're more process orientated and they're less people skills, good. Get a good social worker type personality or a social worker, in fact, to come in there and help with your client services.
Yeah, I think I went to this program called Strategic Coach back in 2009 through 2012. I learned a lot, but I think the biggest thing I learned was you need to leverage your strengths and delegate your weaknesses. It's like me personally. I can teach management all day, but I suck at it. I'm just not good at it. I'm not a weeds guy. I'm more an idea guy. I'm more of a leader. Marketing. I love marketing. I was okay trial lawyer. I won't great. I was better negotiator, but you got to have self-awareness, I guess. And I think some people have a hard time doing that. But I think it's easy if you really, what like Dan Sullivan taught me was, if you got something you really love to do and you're good at it, that means that's probably a strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you got to be both really good at it and really love it. Like I just really hate management. I mean, I can teach it all day. I can do it if I have to, but I don't like it. I'd rather get better be in the marketing side or whatever. But I think that's hard sometimes for lawyers. I see them where they're working 80-hour weeks and they're making money, but man, they got no life.
Yeah, it's just not fun at that point, and at some point, it's not going to be very effective either.
Yeah, mentally you burn out, and then
Mm-hmm.
you really do something else. I think that's why we have a high rate of addiction and alcoholism in the law field. I mean, it's because it's high stress and a lot of hours, and if you think about it, all we're doing is handling other people's problems all day long. I mean, if you think about it, they come to us after everything's screwed up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the way I look at it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So can you give me some examples of things you've done to help lawyers, like how you turn them around? I mean, you got to give me their names, but just kind of like this is how I handle client A.
Yeah, absolutely. So some people come out of big law and they're really not sure how to be entrepreneurs. And depending on how long they've been in it, is sort of how long we have to kind of retrain them to completely handle all of the aspects of practicing. And so that takes some time, of course, balancing that with personal stuff. I mean, people are people in addition to running their practices and being their practice leaders. So handling things like family matters and community service matters that are really dear to their heart while they're also building a sustainable law firm. I have found people that are especially solopreneurs they're very heart centric, and we have to really get them up to a level to where the firm is sustainable before they start maxing out their pro bono and low bono work. So setting those boundaries and setting those goals. A lot of professionals are very good at what they do, but they're very in the weeds. They're very into the technical details and can't really take that 10,000-foot view and say, hey, this is what's really going to go on with my firm. If I'm moving my firm from a solo practice to a firm structure, or like thinking like a firm, then how do I do that? How do I just not go from just practitioner to also entrepreneur and business person?
Well, how do you
So
do, how do you do that?
how do you do that? It takes some time, and for me, it takes building trust with those people. And I come from an entrepreneurial background, so I grew up in a family-owned construction company, so I was sort of born into entrepreneurialism. Whereas a lot of our professionals are accidental entrepreneurs. They were trained in a profession and have to become by default entrepreneurs unless they go into someone else's firm structure. And most of the people who do practice law in the United States are in that small firm structure with, like you mentioned, no training in how to run a business. So breaking it down, finding out the strengths and weaknesses, find out where they want it to go. And some people, they don't like, okay, I don't want a mega firm. I don't want people here working for me that I don't know their name. I don't know their family. I want something that's nice and comfortable and tight and familial and a good complementary culture, and something that's not going to get completely out of hand. Whereas other people, I'm sure they're like, hey, I want to build an empire. I want people here. I want 1,000 people here. I want to build it. I want to acquire. I want to take over. And it's just a different mindset, and just kind of coming to grips with that. Also with what type of practice do they want to have, what fits with their personality, what fits with the type of staff or the type of attorneys that they want to have both in-house and cooperate and collaborate with and work with and against out in the world.
I would think mindset would be a big deal. And do you ever find you go to lawyers and they really don't know what they want? They just know they don't want what they have.
Mhm.
How do you help them figure that out?
Absolutely. So we do some visioning exercises. If they're into that, we can walk them through that. Also, a lot of questions and answers, talking to people. I mean, since I have talked to hundreds of people in this industry and in this field, as well as practicing it myself, do have some insight. So if they bring up a topic and then say, well, I want to work like this, and I'm considering this practice area, it's like, okay, well, some of those things do mesh and some of them don't. So how are you going to handle, say, for instance, family law? Say, well, I want to be in family law, but I don't necessarily want to be, take on a therapist type role as a family lawyer. I just want to do the nitty gritty. I want to go to court. I really want to fight for my client. Okay, well, then how are you going to cover the emotional aspect? Who are you going to have to add to your team to cover that so that your clients do feel supported during those times when it is a very emotional process?
Yeah. I figured out pretty quick in life. When I started out, I was a general practitioner.
Mhm.
And I did some domestic, and that was one of the first things I got out. I think I got a call at 11 o'clock, and she says, my husband come and got the vacuum cleaner. And this was like Friday night at 11 o'clock. I said, what do you want me to do about that tonight? And I said, I can't handle this. Too needy, and I just didn't feel like, I just felt like the best, there was no winners. I don't know. I just did not like it. My second deal was real estate. I just felt that was very boring. That was too mundane to me. Always something a little exciting, a little different every day. But I wanted to make a difference. That's why I went into PI,
Mhm.
comp and disability. I felt like I was making a difference. And I think that you got to have some satisfaction. I think, and you tell me if you disagree, but when you get up in the morning, you need to look forward and be looking forward to going ahead to do what you're going to do. If you get up and you're dreading it, you're in the wrong deal. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. And I think there's a certain part of our culture, especially in the practice of law, that it's okay to be miserable or it's lauded to be overworked. And it's like, no, I think we really need to take an honest look at that. Yeah, I mean, there's always aspects to the job that you're going to have to do and you don't like it. Like we have to file taxes. Okay, nobody likes to do that. But guess what? It's something you have to do. So there's always going to be something that you're grumpy about actually executing in your work, no matter what your work is. But you have to look at it and say, is this something that's pervasive in what I'm doing right now, and how can I look at it differently? And that's why talking to a third party that doesn't really have a stake in the game. I'm not your mom. I'm not going to be disappointed with you if you try to change careers. So to kind of work through it, like, is this just one of those things that's a pain in the butt and you've just got to get over it, or find somebody else to do it, or find some other way to tackle it? Or is this something that is really you have to do every single day as an integral part of what you're doing? and you do need to find something else you need to make a pivot. You need to make a pivot, either practice area or type of work, or, if you're in a firm and you just don't want to run the firm anymore, okay, find another firm, find a small firm that you want to work with, or absorb into something, or do a contract, or go in-house or something. Find another option for yourself. So, because you're not doing anybody any good being like that.
I definitely agree. I mean, for sure, I figured out real quick that I was very terrible at collecting money. And I hated to ask people for money or chase them down. And that's why I really liked the PI, because it was all contingent. I didn't have to chase it down. I collected it when they got their money.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed like a lot easier to me. And I didn't like keeping hours, because that's in the weeds to me, having to keep up with every hour. So I think you got to look at your personality type too, what kind of practice, what law, I like the idea that you didn't have to work, trade your time for money. That's why I like PI, because if you can make a lot of money with working the same, if you put it up by hour, your hourly rate's going to be bigger than working at a white collar law firm. If you're successful. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, it depends on how successful you are. But I don't know. And I always found that, I don't know if you found this, but I think PI lawyers are a lot more entrepreneurial than, say, real estate attorneys, even domestic attorneys somewhat. Although I've got some domestic attorneys in my masterminds that are very entrepreneurial, but they do that and PI. They like that. They like the fact that they got money coming in on a regular basis versus the roller coaster ride of a PI firm, because you can't get paid till you get the case concluded, and you don't want to sell your client out, so you have to wait till the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big deal. So when you're helping these people, these lawyers, I would think that different ones are going to have different sets of problems, probably, like you were saying, some of them. How do you do it? I mean, do you meet with them through Zoom? Do you go to their office and do like a audit, or do you meet with them monthly or weekly, or how do you do this?
Yeah, as it rolls out, it depends on the first couple of conversations we have, and then as we start digging, what do we need? But I'd say, like, if you want to go with a typical engagement, then we meet weekly for at least the first 2 months to just unpack everything. And I'm either working one-on-one with the owner or managing partner, or I'm talking to everyone on the team. So it just depends on what the objectives are. And we work together, I'd say, unless it is just a short-term project that we're trying to launch, then we're probably going to be together 6 to 12 months as we're unpacking other things. So we're working on both a macro and a micro level. So we've prioritized what we want to cover, and we've mapped it out, and stuff is happening. The plane is still flying. So there are things that happen, staff turnover, or an opportunity to bring in a lateral, or a big client that wants to come in and it's a different practice area, or you need to ramp up specifically for that client. These things, or opportunity to get some more real estate. Should I expand my office? I don't know. Let's look at this. So those things come up as we're working together, and we have to evaluate those on the fly.
So I was thinking when you were talking, I think one of the big deals is trying to figure out if I'm going to try to scale this thing or build it up. I think creating processes and procedures is the last thing on a lawyer's mind. I mean, have you found that? I have. I mean,
most business owners, yes. Some people I meet are extremely process orientated. They think in spreadsheets and flow charts, and then a lot are not. I think maybe even the more entrepreneurial or visionary, the closer to that dynamic you fall, then the less excited you are about processes.
It's boring.
Getting in some help. Yeah, it's boring. Hey, I'm with you. I fall way on the visionary side of the scale, but getting someone in there to bring in, like, to use an EOS term, like an implementer or an operations person, like bringing someone in that has that skill set to balance it out is necessary. And they don't have to be, full time. They don't have to be a partner. It's just how do we get this going, and and I collaborate with other professionals. Like, we're not all doing it ourselves. I'm not doing it myself. My client is not doing it themselves. We're not doing it just working with their staff and the team that they have. If we need a CFO to come in and start doing some numbers and some financial projections, then we get a CFO in. If we need a CMO to come in and say, hey, this marketing plan is not going to work for you, or you say you want these clients, but you're getting these other clients and it's just clogging up the system.
Yeah.
Let's do an overhaul on that. So it's whatever they need at the priority they need it.
I think, yeah, for sure. So what would you tell lawyers out there if they're struggling? I mean, if they're, they're overworking, struggling, trying to figure out they just don't seem to have a predictable income, It's like they're working hard, they're doing the right thing, but just don't seem like they're working 60, 70 hours a week and they're making what they could make, working 40 hours a week with another law firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first realizing that things can be different. Yeah, I do think we have in our culture that we just work hard and things are going to work out. And it can be something you're just missing. Like if you're blowing up an air mattress and there's a leak in the air mattress and you need to patch it before you start blowing it up again. So you may be blowing up that air mattress just as hard. Thinking of this because it's summertime, right? So just blowing up the hell out of that air mattress and the air is going out. So being what we're taught is, work harder, put more air in there and it'll hold and it'll fill up. But if you're not catching that there's a leak that can be fixed, it can be patched, it can be solved, you don't know. So taking that step back, investing in taking some time for yourself and not just keep wearing yourself out.
Wise man told me that you need to work smarter, not harder.
I know. We got to remind ourselves that.
Yeah. So what would be like, if you were going to give lawyers that are listening to this advice, what would be one, two, three pieces of good advice you'd give them?
Oh, definitely good advice. That's a good question. I think remember why they did this. Why did we want to do this? There's any opportunity out there, like this is the one that you chose. So keep in touch with the why. If you don't have a why, then definitely get one. Really kind of keeps you going when the times get tough. Get some sounding boards. There's a lot of people out there that do what I do what you do, and it's a very supportive community. Get some advice. Don't just sit in a echo chamber of your own mind and your own immediate peers. And those are good starts. And let me think of what else. Yeah, sort of the visioning. Like, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself after the practice of law? If there's an after. And yes, you can always do something with it. Don't have to like completely change, but like, hey, what would this be like if I were doing it half-time or part-time? Or what am I going to do when, my grandkids start arriving? Even if that's 20 years from now. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to think of the end game. That's what we were taught. I think any business you build, you should build it with the idea that you need to structure it so that it can be sold, that somebody would pay top dollar for it. And they're not going to pay top dollar for it if you don't have the infrastructure set up with the processes and procedures and policies and manuals and a predictable marketing system that flows into cases. And whether you ever plan to sell it or not, you still need to build it that way. Because what happens to you if you get sick, right?
Yeah, you get sick or you want to take some time off, or a loved one needs more time and caring, start planning on taking some time away from your business to test run, fire drill. Like, hey, I'm going to take the day off. Let me see what happens.
I was reading a book last week called The Compound Effect.
Oh, great book.
Darren Hardy, you read it?
Yeah.
And one thing he says is that one of the keys, a lot of them, but one of them is you got to be continually learning and being mentored, because you don't never know it all. And just like now, I have people, I'm in masterminds that people are teaching me stuff. I'm learning from other people. And because I don't care how smart you are, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees because you're too engulfed in it. You're too in it. It's something like being inside of a wine bottle. You can't see out because of the wrapper, the label,
Yeah.
Can't remember where I heard that. That's been recently, but I thought about it and I'm thinking, I think that's, I've always been a voracious reader and like to learn new stuff. I'm always trying to I know I don't know it all, and things are changing so fast. They really are. They really are. So when you talk to somebody, do you give them a first call free, or is it an initial consultation fee, or how do you do it?
Yeah, no, I do, especially if it's a referral. If someone says, "Hey, heard you on Ken's podcast," then absolutely we're gonna talk because
Yeah.
I want to keep that relationship with you. I want to start that relationship with them. I mean, if you just found me on the website, then yes, it's like put in your credit card here to book a consultation. But yeah, always happy to talk to a referral.
So how can they get up with you?
Oh, they can find the Success Partner pretty much everywhere, or Daya Naef, LinkedIn. I'm there all the time, and all the social medias. So even TikTok. So
Social media, the necessary evil in our lives today.
it is its own interesting animal. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a love-hate relationship with it. So anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you, or anything you want to leave parting words with our listeners or viewers?
Yeah, I just guess just personally, in my spare time, I'm an artist and I like to travel. So just a few personal things, and I love animals. So I love to bond with my fellow fur parents out there, and got a special place in my heart for that.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely, Ken. Thank you.
All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.